This is just a quick video to discuss with you maintaining your sourdough starter. There are lots of ways to do this, and it varies depending on what type of flour you're using to feed your starter, how often you want to bake bread, how much starter you need to bake the bread that you plan on baking that day. So I'll just explain what I do for my needs, and I typically bake bread once a week, maybe twice a week. And I'll leave about 30 grams of starter in the jar at the end after I've used it for the loaf of bread. And then when I'm ready to bake another loaf, about 12 hours before that, I will go ahead and feed my starter. And I'm going to use a 1-to-2 ratio, which would be 30 grams of starter, 60 grams of flour, 60 grams of water. There's lots of ratios that you can use depending on how long you want to wait for the starter to rise and double in size or even triple in size, and how much starter you're actually going to need for the amount of bread that you're going to be baking that day. There's no hard fast rule that what ratios you have to use. You can use a 1-1-1 ratio. So if I had 60 grams of starter in here, I could use 60 grams of flour, 60 grams of water, and I would still have 120 grams of starter left over. At least 120 grams. I could even use more. I could bring it down to about 30 left over and then just do a 1-to-2 feeding on the next day. The point is, there's lots of ways to take care of your starter. Some people leave it on the counter all the time and they're feeding it every day. Some people, like me, maybe bake once or twice a week and are storing it most of the times in the refrigerator. You'll have to sort out what way works best for you and how often you want to bake. Just remember, it's just an experimentation to learn. I know how often I'm using it, how often I'm feeding it. I've left it in the refrigerator for 2 weeks without feeding it and have revived it without any issues at all, just doing a good 1-to-2 ratio feeding for it. Your mileage may vary depending on room temperature, lots of variables, what kind of flour you're using. I'm using King Arthur organic bread flour to feed my starter, and I've always used organic flour for this starter. It's 3 years old, so I know that it hasn't been contaminated with any pesticides or any residue that might be left in just regular bread flour that is not organic, or all-purpose flour, regular whole wheat flour. I liked the organic bread flour for making my starter. I think it tastes great. You can do your own. There are recipes for having a rye starter, a whole wheat starter. Choose however you want to do it. I didn't have much success with the rye starter, and that's the one that I first used. Things got much better for me once I used the organic bread flour from King Arthur. Was very happy with that. And again, this starter is 3 years old and I've had no issues with it whatsoever. That's how I maintain my starter. Please share in the comments how you maintain your starter, as we can all learn from each other. And thanks for watching.